All right, so if you've been looking to hire an SEO agency, or maybe you're considering hiring an SEO agency, you may have realized that it can be extremely difficult to tell who actually knows what they're doing and who doesn't, and how to decide on who to hire. So in this video, what I want to do is give you some insider information from someone who runs an SEO agency to give you some ideas of what you should look for, which will help you to actually pick somebody who's actually competent and knows what they're doing and will likely deliver the results that they're actually promising. Because what happens is there's no shortage of people promising when it comes to SEO, but there is a shortage of people who actually do know what they're doing and can deliver on those promises. And so there are a couple of key indicators that you can look at in advance to try and at least filter down to the more likely people who are likely to succeed and actually be able to do what they're promising. Now, the problem with the whole SEO industry and a lot of online marketing in general is that it is basically a wild west, and you need to realize this. There are no real certifications or any kind of qualification that anybody needs to actually start a marketing agency. Now, yes, there are a bunch of courses out there, and let's say for Google Ads, you've got the Google Partner Program and all this, but you can easily find answers to them online. You can cheat very easily, and ultimately they don't mean much anyway, because a lot of people who have those qualifications can't deliver regardless. So those don't really mean anything. So really, you are left to having to be very discerning and know what you're looking for, or at least be really sharp in terms of identifying someone who's either bullshitting you or who's being, honest with you, so that you can try and find the right person. Now, the other problem you have is when it comes to SEO specifically, you won't know if you pick the right person for 6 to 9, potentially 12 months down the line, where that's at the point where SEO really starts to work, and you could have been just spending the last 9 months working with someone who doesn't know what they're doing, and then in 9 months there's nothing, and you just wasted all that time and money. So obviously that's a very big downside that you want to try and avoid. So I'm going to give you a couple of things to look out for, then a couple of things you need to watch out for, and then a few things you can ask a potential agency you're looking to work with to try and filter them out and see what they have to say and get some information. So the first thing is a couple of things that you want to look for. So the number one thing I would probably say that will indicate someone who's likely to be able to help you is previous results, ideally with similar businesses. So SEO can be applied to largely most businesses that are out there, and it is a similar process, but there are specifics in certain niches and certain industries where you kind of need to know that industry in order to correctly implement the SEO. And so ideally, if you can find somebody who has experience in that niche or industry, or at least something similar, then that will help you. So for example, if you're working with, let's say you've got an e-commerce agency, they specialize in e-commerce, and they're now going to do a local SEO business for like a trade type business, like a plumber or something, there is quite a lot of differences between those two, whether it comes to the website they're working with. So regardless, like for example, they'll be working with, let's say, Shopify before, and now they might be working with WordPress. So there's a lot of some differences there, and as well as the actual industries and the different approaches required for e-commerce SEO versus local SEO. So if you can find someone as close as possible to your particular business, then at least they will have some experience and already know what to do to implement those things correctly. And it's just going to save time and a bit of trial and error, and likely to yield you results faster. Now, the second thing I would say you should look at is some kind of reputation or reviews from previous clients. So if you can find someone who has some kind of reputation, then that's typically a good sign that they have at least delivered for some people before, and they're likely to do it again if they intend to keep that reputation. So this one is a bit more of like, let's say, a soft skill or a bit of a social skill that you need to kind of discern this, because obviously reviews can be faked and things like that, but there comes a degree where you can sort of trust a person based on, if they have a lot of online presence, they've been doing a lot to try and maintain their reputation, they have a lot of happy clients and testimonials. I mean, nothing is guaranteed, but these things are all pretty good signs that this person is probably going to at least try their best to make your campaign work. And so the more of these things you can tick off on the list, the better, basically. Now, the next thing is some kind of demonstration of their skill and competence. So whether that is, for example, what I'm doing here with a YouTube channel showing you what I do so that you can see what I would be doing for you, and there's a lot of other SEO guys that do the same thing as well, or whether that's, let's say, their own website that ranks #1 for their target keywords, that's a decent indicator that at least they're relatively skilled with SEO if they make their own website rank. With that one, there is a degree of a lot of good SEOs don't have their own website ranking. It's kind of like that saying of how the mechanic mechanic's car is always broken, or, the shoemaker's shoe has always got a hole in it. It's not just because their website doesn't rank, it's not guaranteed that they don't know what they're doing, but it can be an additional good sign that at least they know how to make their own website rank, so they must have some skill. So that's something to consider. So at least some kind of display of competence that they know SEO. I mean, that's kind of goes into the case studies and proven results thing. But if you can find some of those, that's another box you'd ideally want to tick. Now, the next thing is some kind of guarantee. Now, nobody can guarantee you number one position on Google because they don't control Google. So I don't control Google. No other SEO does either. And honestly, at this point, it's debatable whether Google themselves control it. However, with something like ads, with enough money and the right budget, you can basically guarantee we will make sure that your ad shows up, right? You just need to pay for it. You can't do that with SEO. And so if anyone's giving you a guarantee of we guarantee your number one position, that's basically bullshit. But if they can guarantee some kind of result, or they're willing to at least give you some kind of expectation, like let's say, for example, if this SEO campaign is not profitable within 9 months and you're not at least covering the cost of our service plus, X amount of profit, then we'll work for free until it does, or something like that. Some kind of, guarantee or promise that you won't just be funneling money in forever, and you can expect some kind of result at some point, or some kind of correction will happen. That's something I would look for. As you get to agencies with a higher reputation, typically they don't tend to offer guarantees, but they usually have the proof and the reputation to combat that and level out against it, because they have so much proof that you basically know what they're doing. But if you're talking with, let's say, an agency who has slightly less results or experience, or they're newer, some kind of guarantee is typically a good sign that they're at least going to try and make your thing work. They're not just going to take your money and hope you churn eventually and they make a profit, because some agencies do operate on a churn and burn model, and you need to be aware of that. That's actually their entire model, so they couldn't really care less if you churn, as long as you stay a couple months and they can make some money off you. And that's a position you as a business owner don't want to be in, so you need to keep that in mind. Now, the other thing is some kind of personalization. So are they going to personalize this campaign to your particular type of business, or are they just going to copy paste their systems and their general strategy and not at all customize it to what you need, which is going to mean you're going to get worse results. So most SEO is largely the same, but again, like I mentioned earlier, there are specifics for certain businesses and certain niches, etc., where you do need to customize a little bit. If they're not willing to do any kind of customization, they're literally copy and pasting the entire process, then that's typically a sign that they don't really care too much about getting you results. They're just trying to automate everything as much as possible and make as much money as they can, which is not necessarily a bad thing, especially if you do get results, but you might end up as one of the businesses that doesn't. And especially if they couple that with no guarantee or anything, then you really end up stuck in a position, in a tough spot. And basically what I'm trying to do with this information and give you the best chance of finding someone who's going to deliver for you as the business, so that you can get the results and not end up as one of these businesses that paid thousands of dollars for 12 months and got nothing. Now, the last thing I'd say for things to look out for is if they can demonstrate an ROI on their service. So a lot of agencies will just sell you SEO, but they'll just give you vague claims and won't give you any kind of expectation of what kind of result of return on investment you can expect. Now, this doesn't have to be an immediate one. This can be over 12 months or something like that. But basically, at least they should be able to show you, well, within 12 months, we typically see X amount of leads. If you close this many leads, you'll get X amount of clients. If your average client is worth, Y amount, then you should be making this much money per month, which should now be covering the cost of SEO plus X times amount of profit, which has now made the whole 12 months up until this point worthwhile. Something along those lines. If they can't even demonstrate any sort of ROI that they're going to provide, or at least some, estimated calculation, then basically that to me signals that they're not even particularly interested in trying to help you make money and help your business. They're just trying to make a sale. And you need to be careful of that, because if that's how they're dealing with it at this point, then it's probably not going to get better further down the line as they're actually working with you as well. So these are all things I would say to look out for as like positive things. The next thing is a few things that you need to watch out for, which can be red flags in my opinion. Now, the first one is whether they're just trying to sell you SEO despite you not really needing it, or not being the best solution to whatever you need right now. So the biggest indicator of this is if you come to somebody, an SEO specialist or agency, and you say, I need customers now, and they try and sell you SEO, that doesn't make any sense. SEO is not going to get you customers right now. It's usually going to be at least a couple of months before you see any kind of result of what you did today. So if they're trying to sell you SEO as a response to you saying you need customers right now, you know that they're bullshitting you and they're just trying to make a sale, because it's just not what it is. So that's a major red flag there. The problem with this is, as a business owner who doesn't know SEO, you might not know whether you need it or not. So I would at least try and get them to explain why you need it and how it's going to work, and maybe even ask them to suggest some kind of other alternatives and what those would look like. So at least you can see if they can give you an idea of whether something else would be better, or whether they're just going to try and hard sell you SEO regardless of what you need, which is an indicator that they don't really care to get you results. They just want to make the sale again. So the next one is no prior experience. So if you find someone in SEO with no prior experience, I mean, they might be just starting a business or something like that, but unless the deal for you is very, very good, in my opinion, the risk is just too high. So, unless they're offering you some kind of free trial or some unbelievably good deal, you're risking 6 to 9 months of wasted time and potentially not getting any result, and potentially wasting money paying them as well. And so if you're happy with that, then I mean, there's no reason you can't go ahead with them. But unfortunately, it's a very big risk. And if I was a business owner, I wouldn't want to take that risk, because I could be a year behind now if they can't actually deliver on what they want. And also, somebody with no experience, especially if they're brand new to SEO and they didn't work in an agency before or something like that, there's just too many little things that they won't know that you get to know after doing it for years. And you as the business owner will pay, because you will lose time and money with them not knowing how to implement these things. So that is not as such a red flag, but it's something I would look out for and just consider whether you want to take that risk or not. Now, the next one is not truly diagnosing what you need. And this kind of goes back to the first point I said, but if you get on a call and you explain to them how, you need customers right now, you've only got 2 months, to go, or your business is going to collapse, and they try and sell you SEO, they're not diagnosing what you need. They're just trying to sell their product to you. And so that's obviously a problem. So you need to at least pay attention and try and differentiate between someone who's actually trying to sell you SEO to solve your particular business problem or to help your business with what you're trying to achieve, versus someone who's just trying to sell you their service regardless of what you need. So that's a very big key problem with a lot of SEO agencies. They will just try and sell you SEO regardless of what you actually need for your business. And you as the business owner are going to end up paying the price for that one in the long term and in the short term. Now, the next one is setting no solid expectations. If they can't at least give you some sort of expectations as to what you can expect from their work, then to me, that's a red flag that they either don't know what they're doing, or they know they're not competent enough to at least give you a rough idea or a rough estimate as to what you can expect in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, etc. If they can't even give you that, then I mean, that's just an indicator that they don't know what they're doing as far as I'm concerned. Because once you've run a number of campaigns, you'll at least have an idea of what usually happens, and they should be able to show you that and at least explain, okay, this should happen in 3 months, this should happen in 6 months, etc. It might not always go 100% to plan, but at least give you an idea of what to expect. If they can't even give you the idea of what to expect, they probably don't know, or they've just had poor results and they don't want to share them. So there's no reason why someone who has results would not share that with you. So it doesn't make any sense. Now, the next one is lock in contracts with no guarantees. So most SEO agencies love to lock in their clients for 12 months, 24 months, whatever. And they love to top that off with no guarantee or no expectation of results. Now, unless you know 100% that the person you're talking to is a god of SEO and will definitely deliver, that is a major red flag as far as I'm concerned, because you're now going to be stuck in a contract which you'll have to pay some kind of penalty to get out of when they don't deliver the thing they did or they promised. And so I don't know why any businesses even get into a contract or an agreement like that. It doesn't make any sense to me, but that's what happens. And so you need to be wary of that. If they can't even promise or guarantee any kind of results or any kind of expectation, but they want to lock you into a contract, to me, that doesn't make any kind of business sense, and I wouldn't be doing that. I mean, there are so many SEO agencies out there now and choices that you have that it doesn't make sense why you would get into that kind of position unless they're a very, very proven agency who would do that. But the ones who can get results typically don't need to lock anyone in like that, because they know that their results will speak for themselves, and there's no reason a client would leave if they're getting them results and the expectations have been set and everything. So to me, a lock-in contract is typically, not always, but typically a red flag, or at least something to pay attention to. Why are they trying to lock you in if their service is so good? Keep that in mind. Now, the other thing is promising number one position. I've spoken to you about that before and earlier in this video, but if anyone's promising you to be on position number one on Google and guaranteeing it, then they're just lying, because they can't guarantee that simply because nobody knows what Google's going to do with the organic search results. Nobody's in control of it. They can't possibly guarantee it. They can say, we will likely get you to position one, but to guarantee it and say they definitely will, There's no way they can say that. And so I'm telling you that as someone who does SEO, I'll never promise that because I know I can do it, but I can't guarantee it, if that makes sense. And nobody can. So keep that one in mind. That's to me an indicator that someone is willing to lie to you to try and make a sale when they know for a fact that it can't be done. Now, the next thing is if they are too cheap. So if you are finding someone offering you SEO service and it is in the, let's say in the hundreds of dollars range, it's probably not going to be very good. Actually, you can basically guarantee it's not going to be very good. There might be some odd exception to this rule. Somebody just starting out maybe, and they're trying to get their first client or something like that. And they are actually good. I mean, even when I just started, I was offering SEO. My first client was about $500 a month. So they just got lucky basically, but my prices didn't stay around that level for long. And the reason why is because you simply don't have the budget to implement correctly on that kind of price point. It's just not possible. So unless you happen to catch some prodigy who's just starting out their business, which is very unlikely, then that kind of price usually indicates that they just don't have the resources to do the job properly, and they're just going to do copy paste and like very low cost methods that are at best not going to work at all, and at worst will probably penalize your site and will actually cause more harm than good, and you might not even be able to recover. So really anything under $1,000 a month type of deal, if we're talking monthly retainers, is usually too cheap to be able to correctly implement. They just won't have the money to pay for the tools, the backlinks, all the other things all the other costs involved, things you need to do to make SEO work, the time involved in setting it all up. I actually have a video which describes the difference between low cost and more expensive SEO services. I'll put a link above. You can go watch that if you want to see a breakdown of exactly why low cost services can't possibly work and compete with someone who charges more and knows what they're doing. So you can go watch that for more info. But basically, if it's too cheap, it's too good to be true. And I can tell you that there's no way, let's say, for example, if you hired a $500 a month SEO, I can guarantee you that whoever I'm doing, if they're your competitor, they're going to rank higher than you and they're going to do a better job simply because I have more to work with and I would never sell my time for that low at this point. And so that's just the reality of the situation. Now, a couple of things that you can ask a potential SEO agency that you're talking to hire, which should give you an indication at least of where they stand, is a couple of questions I would ask. So the first thing is I would ask them for case studies of similar businesses they've worked with. Just get them to show you what businesses they've worked with, at least the niche, and like, is it a concreting business? Is it a law firm? Is it an auto shop? Whatever it is, whatever your business is it an e-com store? Have they worked with them and what kind of results did they get with them? This will give you, again, a good indication of do they have experience in your particular niche or something at least similar, so that they'll be more likely to implement the correct methods for your business straight away. Now, the next thing is what are the expected results in ROI? And at least get them to give you a ballpark of what kind of return on investment you can expect and in what time frame. Anyone who has any idea of what they're doing should be able to give you at least a rough estimate. If they can't even give you that or refuse to give you some kind of expectation, then I would say that is a red flag and I wouldn't even pursue it any further because they're obviously not confident in their skills and ability to deliver. So otherwise, there's no reason why they wouldn't give you an idea. Or they don't know because they've never done it before. Those are the only real options in that scenario. And the last one is I would ask them what happens if it doesn't work. So that's a completely logical question to ask. They're promising to do a certain result and you as the business owner would want to know what's going to happen if they can't deliver that result. I think that's pretty logical. And they should at least be able to give you some indication of what's going to happen. Let's say, for example, we're going to do this in 9 months, you should be around X. If you're not even remotely close to that and it's not paying for itself at the very least, then we're going to work for free for, 3 months or whatever to make it happen. Something along those lines. Some kind of idea of what's going to happen if it doesn't work rather than lock you into a contract for 12 months and, oh, too bad if it doesn't work, it's your fault kind of thing or your problem. So ask them what's going to happen if it doesn't work and see if they can give you a satisfactory answer. If they dance around it or just refuse to give you anything, then again, I would be looking elsewhere because it just doesn't make sense. Why, if they know what they're doing, why would they not be willing to say, listen, we'll make it right and make sure that it works for you in some way? So these are all the things I think are the most important if you're looking for an SEO agency, all these things to look for and things to ask. Hopefully this gives you an idea of what to look for and what to keep an eye out for so that you don't get stuck with someone who doesn't know what they're doing or is blatantly just, taking your money and not delivering. If you want my help with SEO, then I do actually offer that as a service as well. I do run my own agency. If that's something you're interested in, you can go dominatemarketing.io and book a call with me. And you're welcome to ask me any of the questions or anything I've put in this video, and I will answer them because I know what to answer there already. And I'll honestly tell you whether I can help you or not. But if that is what you want, you can go there and book a call with me. If not, by all means, you can find somebody else. Use this guide to find an SEO agency that works for you And this should give you a much better chance of at least finding someone who is likely to deliver. So hope you guys enjoyed this one. Catch you on the next one.